Phils in action today. You got Scherzer and Nola matching off. And Seth, Seth Everett's going to join us now, NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network. You can listen at NBCSportsRadio.com. I mean, to be playing right now, this is kind of tough for them to jump right back into action when the way they lost that game last night.
Yeah, I mean, no rest for the weary. That's a situation where when you're going to have a circumstance where ultimately, you're in a pennant race, you don't have time to rest on bad defeats or bad victories or anything like that. Look, there's no secret that last night the bullpen let it go, let them down.
Yeah.
Zimmerman got the hit. Look, the Nationals are still a good team, even though they're not going to be the team that they had expected. There's still some really good stars on that team, and Zimmerman was able to get the hit that won them the game. But again, that's the beauty of a pennant race. Just move on, go to the next game, and just continue to keep an eye on the standings and what the Braves are doing. And the Braves are playing the Pirates while the Phillies get the National.
Yeah, and we know about today you're in action, and you got 36 games left after this. At what point in your mind, Seth Everett, are games kind of in that must-win category?
Well, it's hard to say the word must win. Must win is probably not until the last week of the season, but need to win. Need to win. Like these are games you need. You're in a pennant race, and you're going to match up your players, in situations that they've never been in before. There's a reason why no one's picking a winner between the Phillies and the Braves. It's because both teams are in these uncharted territories, and nobody has a real vibe onto who's going to win when. All I can say is finish August strong and get into a month where you're going to play the Braves, I believe, 6 times. And, those 6 games are probably going to decide the National League East.
7 against the Braves, actually. And then, of course, they still have the Nationals. After this, they play them again 6 more times. And, depending on what happens with this game this afternoon, Seth, the Nationals have kind of found their way back in it. It's very 06 Phillies. They trade away Bobby Abreu, and everything seemed to, they kind of quit. And that team kind of got themselves back in the race. Now, they came up a little short, but it was kind of the beginning of them going on a great run.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, ultimately, I think these head-to-head matchups, in between the final weeks of the season, you go to Atlanta for 4, but then you have to go to Coors Field. That's tough. The Rockies are going to be in a race. They're going to need those games. These games are going to be massive, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a really cool experience for all of this. And I've been impressed with what they've been able to do. Their resiliency so far. And you just have to hope it continues. But this pennant race is what sells baseball. I mean, baseball is drama, and for all the things that have been facing the sport as we have gone on, my attitude has been, if you are a team that's in a race, you don't care about strikeouts right now. You don't care about pace of play right now. What you care about is just, can my team get into the dance?
That's a good point. Last night I'm watching the game. I was taking the time between the pitches on my hitting the stopwatch on my clock, and it was like 40 seconds between each pitch. I was just very interested to see. I was like, man, this is taking a while. And it was 40 seconds between each pitch. But you're right. When you're in the game and you're on the edge of your seat, that 40 seconds, those 10 seconds feel a lot different than they do in May, June, and July.
They do. In the pennant race, though, you're more interested in the score. I've said all along, fans care about a team first and a sport second. The Scott Miller Bleacher Report piece, I don't know if you saw that, where he went up to Cooperstown and interviewed a bunch of the Hall of Famers about some of the issues that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. And, it's heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking article. I mean, you read it because, you hear the names and you start to realize, what got you into this game in the first place. I owe a lot of my career to this sport, and it pains me to see the things that they're facing and the problems that they're facing. But the numbers don't lie. Lowest attendance since 2002. Lowest batting average since before the invention of the designated hitter. Some scary numbers. And a lot of people say, well, the stat geeks have the answers. Well, the stat geeks don't have the answers to those numbers. And, that's been part of the problem. But I've tried to have a very positive attitude, and all I've been focusing on is the races. because I think that you have 4 legit division races, and that means, you care about what happens on the scoreboard, and that's not something I usually pay attention to.
I'll tell you what, a lot of people were counting the Cardinals out. They fired their manager, and all of a sudden, you look at races, they're 2.5 games back. They've been playing unbelievable baseball, 8 out of their last 10. Is this all based on a manager change?
Well, the Cardinals are an interesting story because they have been they've been a ball club that I thought was sloppy defensively. We talked about the Cardinals earlier in the year, and I just didn't like them. I'm a very on record saying I didn't like that ball club. They don't lose, and I've been very impressed with what they've been able to put together. Sustainability. They're in uncharted territory. I didn't think they were going to be able to do this far. What I have always loved and what I have truly enjoyed about this Cardinals run is it's really scared both the Cubs and the Brewers. I think they don't have a good answer for anything, and I think that's been part of this issue that you're facing. And to be honest with you, the thing that I have noticed about the Cubs is they've kind of been resting on their laurels, and I don't think they can. Darvish is out for the year. They add Matt Adams. They've got a lot of work to do. And I think they've got 2 challenges now because I don't think Milwaukee's going away. I don't think they're flipping the switch, and I think that there's a lot of games, and that's like what I'm saying. The drama of the pennant races have been good because the teams aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I know it gets late early, but there is still a full month of baseball. These games, 3 games can turn into a half a game real fast. You win series. The Phillies have lost 4 in a row, but if they just win a couple of series, the next thing you know, I kind of agree with you that those matchups late in the year against the Braves, I think that will kind of be what settles this at least the National League East here. But I want to look at real quick and get your thoughts on the American League, what's going on, because everyone just says Boston. They're so far ahead. But Cleveland, Houston, Oakland, there's something going on with those 3 teams.
Sure there is, and I think the Red Sox, I say this, I don't mean to demean them, but this is the only thing I agree with about the Red Sox. If you took 10 of their victories away, I have the same analysis on this team. I know, the old phrase, you are what your record says you are, and, Bill Parcells is a great coach, but the fact of the matter is that, they have inflated numbers. They're not a sure thing in the postseason. And you would think that a team that's 50 games over 500 would be a sure thing. And I just think this is more of a microcosm of, there are 2 teams that they play regularly that are in danger of losing 100 games. There's potentially 6 teams that could lose 100 games with 36 to play. And when you have that many bad teams, I just think that you get inflated numbers. And all I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to take any of their credit away. I'm just saying that I don't think the Red Sox are a sure thing by any stretch in the postseason. And I think they know it. I think you can feel it. There was a different feel for the 98 Yankees or the 2001 Mariners. This is a different thing. And the 2018 Red Sox are not this great juggernaut of a team. I just think they have some inflated win totals.
All right, the American League race should be a lot of fun once they actually get into the playoffs. Those races seem to be less thrilling than the National League, but we'll, of course, be keeping it track of it all. Seth Everett with us here on the Sports Bash Live on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thank you, Seth.
You got it, my man.